Welcome to the Off Leash Podcast with Dr. Pete. I am your co-host, Molly Van Franken, and we are so glad that you joined us for today's show. Remember, we're not here to say what you want us to say. We're here to be an advocate for your pet. And we have Dr. Pete with over 50 years of veterinary experience sitting across from us.
Yep. Over 50 years. In
over
fact,
50 years.
Getting to be a long ways over 50 years at this point. 6 months over 50 years. So
wow.
I got out in May of 74.
Wow.
So I'm out 50.5 years.
Wow. Crazy.
Yep.
We're going to be talking about a little bit of a hard-hitting topic today that I hear a lot of back and forth on that I'd like to emphasize with you. CBD oil in dogs, which, okay, I don't know if you know the difference. I'm not a big smoker. I'll take an edible from time to time, but I don't know the difference between CBD and what is the other one?
Well,
CBD and THC.
THC, that's right.
So what is the...
CBD oil. CBD is the oil out of the hemp plant.
So the THC is what makes you high.
Yeah.
The CBD is what has the health benefits.
Right. Sometimes.
And
that's what we're going to talk about today. And so it's for a long time. In fact, I should probably bracket this and tell you, people have talked about this for a long time. Although legally in the state of Michigan, as a licensed veterinarian, we weren't allowed to talk about it until just a year or so ago.
Why?
Because there really hadn't been the research done on it.
So it's not because of anything outlawing it. Because I don't even remember before it was outlawed, I don't even think that you could do like the oils or anything.
Right. Well, so it is outlawed. I mean, I think the oil was outlawed at one time, so they left that in place. They couldn't talk about either one of those. So you weren't allowed to talk about CBD or THC. So you were only allowed to talk about things that were licensed, carprofen, gabapentin, amoxicillin, doxycycline.
So let me start by asking you this. Is CBD something that's used at all in veterinary medicine?
Yes. Yep. All time.
Really?
Yep. So, and that's what I can tell you. In fact, I was at a meeting, I want to see, this is probably 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago. It was at the North American Veterinary Conference down in Orlando, VMX. Mm-hmm. That's what they call that.
We were right next to people.
Yeah. And I was there, and my friend Joel Walkschlag was there, and he was putting on a thing
about CBD oil.
Yes.
Was this the controversial meeting that happened?
I don't know if it was controversial, but they were up there talking, and another friend of mine, Dr. Fred, and he was up there talking at the same time about this, and so they were doing like a tag team thing. And so I thought, well, maybe I'll go and see what they have to say. It was a gigantic hall. Well, you couldn't get in. And you couldn't get in the hall where they were just showing it on video either. So you couldn't watch it.
Because it was so popular of a topic?
Because it was so popular of a topic.
Wait, this was last year?
Yes.
Wow.
Yep. Well, not last year. 3 or 4 years ago, I guess. Something like that. So it was really popular. And of course, I ran into Dr. Joe later in the meeting, and we talked a little bit about it. And he says, that he works at Cornell. He's a nutritionist at Cornell. Mm-hmm. So he says, they're not really too warm about me chit-chatting about this sort of stuff, but he's done some of the work. So I thought maybe today we'd talk about some of the work, because I'm a sort of a data guy. I believe in the data, and so that's what Dr. Freddie Metzger and Dr. Joel Walkschlag were talking about. I can't say his name. Mm-hmm. I'm not even. I wonder. I think he can probably pronounce it pretty well, but I can't pronounce it.
Okay.
Anyway, so they had a meeting. It was like an hour-long meeting, and it was well attended. So he's done some work, and I thought and I jotted some of the stuff he'd done down, and what he did and what his group did. They took 29 cannabinoid products in our profession, and they went ahead and collected them. And then what they did was what most people should do, is assay them and see what's going on. So of the 29, 4 of them were contaminated with heavy metals.
Oh.
Yeah, like lead.
Why?
Stuff. I mean, who knows why?
Just the way that it was made?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where the heavy metals came from.
That's sketchy.
But that's what I'm telling you. So this is this is EPA stuff, not drug stuff. So I think if you're putting something in food, or if I think you're putting, so they have the food and drug, FDA, Food and Drug Administration.
What is EPA? Environmental Protection Agency.
They're the ones that kind of deal with these flea sprays and nutraceuticals and stuff like that.
That's crazy.
So and the nutraceuticals are the same way. Well, I'm giving glucosamine. Oh, are you? Well, how much glucosamine is in there? Well, it says 250 milligrams per capsule. Okay, it says 250 milligrams per capsule. Do you know that's what's in there? Well, of course I know what's in there. It says 250, and the EPA sanctioned this.
Okay.
Well, all the EPA did is made sure there wasn't any strychnine or cyanide in it. So that's what they do. They make sure it's safe.
They don't make sure that the amount.
They don't assay the amounts, and that's not their thing. They're not the Food and Drug Administration. So people need to get a hold of that. Okay, and lots of times when you're going out to a store, and I've been in, I'll go to a store and I'll buy melatonin because I think it helps me sleep a little bit. Okay, so I'll buy melatonin, 5 milligrams. Yeah, why not? And then you have your choice of 6 or 7 or 8 different brands. Now, what do? Do I buy all the brands and then send them in and have them assayed? Hell no, I'm too cheap to do that. Mm-hmm. So, but what I do is I generally buy the most expensive one because I think that the people aren't putting much in there. They try to get the low number. They're trying to get the low number people. Mm-hmm. Follow me?
Yep, I do.
Yeah. And so that's what they're doing. So I think that's probably kind of what you need to know. If it's cheap,
you're not getting your
money
out of it.
Yeah. So 2 products had no cannabinoids in it out of 29. So
that's what I'm reading on here. Is some of the CBD dog products actually contain
0. Yep.
Why?
So this is you understand what this, if you're given CBD oil, this is basically a form of Wheel of Fortune, okay? You're bankrupt, lose a turn, that's the no cannabinoids in there. And really the heavy metals are...
another form of Russian roulette.
Yeah, you lose your turn.
So I'm reading on here about what it helps dogs with. Stress and anxiety.
Yep.
Has that been scientifically proven?
Well, no. Beyond a shadow of a doubt, I don't think, no. I don't know that there's any peer-reviewed articles. But I was going to tell you, the other thing was that of the 29, only 10 actually had within 10% one way or the other. In other words, if it was 250 milligram, I'm just pulling that out of the air. The 250 milligram is either 225 or 275 between those two.
Okay.
May have had more and may have had less. So 10, so that's about a third.
Okay.
So about a third of those had what was in there. And that's kind of
shiesty.
Well, that's kind of disturbing to know that there's only 1 in 3 chance you're going to get something that isn't. And
how can you test it? You just send it in.
They send it in. So they have organizations. In fact, if you ever look on some of these nutraceuticals, this NASC thing, it's like the good housekeeping seal of approval.
Yeah,
so good housekeeping, they'll have that seal.
Yeah.
So if it has NASC here, that means that's what's in there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it says online that it's supposed to help with a lot of different things: seizures, allergies, immune system.
Yep.
Cardiovascular and neurological function.
Yep.
Inflammation.
Yep.
Pain.
It's supposed to help sometimes with dermatitis. It's like atopic dermatitis. So supposed to help sometimes.
Have you treated a dog with CBD
No, but I think I
oil?
read the articles. No, I haven't. I mean, we don't really carry it, and I don't know that we're allowed to carry it or prescribe it. So you have to go down into the store and figure out what works. So then, if somebody tells you, "Listen, I gave my dog that has atopic dermatitis or allergies, I gave my dog CBD oil. Did it work? It worked great. Okay, tell me what brand you got, and I will buy that brand because obviously you didn't get the brand that had nothing in it, and you probably didn't get the brand that had lead in it, and you probably didn't get the brand that had way less than what it was supposed to have in it. And so that's the thing. So this is virtually Wheel of Fortune when you buy this stuff, and you have all these things. So I think when I read this, it said 65% of the dogs had a 50% improvement on itching. Well, I got news for you. When people come to see me because their dog's itching, so the dog's itching 20 minutes out of the hour, so 20 on, 40 off. What they're looking for, they're not looking for 15 on, 45 off. They're not looking for 10 on, 50 off. See, I'm doing the math here pretty good. Anyway, so They're looking for zip is what the dog is itching. So they're pretty careful when they're describing their benefits of this. So if I was going to use this, I may use it in conjunction with something else.
Okay.
So you
as a supporting factor.
Yeah. Well, you think of it more like a Long Island iced tea. It's going to take a few things to get this job done. So you're going to have to add a lot of stuff. And sometimes you give omega-3 fatty acids. They have anti-inflammatory properties. You give Rimadyl, or not Rimadyl, but Apoquel or Zenrelia, something like that. That helps. Or Cytopoint, that helps. So most of these dogs, you got to figure out what the combination is. And if a CBD oil's in there, that's fine. CBD oil's in there, and it may help. But if you can get it done without the CBD oil, that'd probably be the way I'd do it, because quite frankly, if you can get it all taken care of without giving 2 or 3 or 4 different things,
right,
I do that.
And so I'm looking at a article at DVM 360 right now. Study evaluates adverse effects of CBD in dogs and cats. And I guess they did a study, and there was like 476 dogs that were licking, 339 head shaking, pacing 150, chomping 88, gagging 29. How do they know that these are directly related to the CBD?
I don't know. You don't know. So, I mean,
vomiting.
And I don't know whether this is a peer-reviewed, a professionally done study. Or
how do you know? How do you know if it's peer-reviewed?
Probably, well, peer-reviewed. Okay.
It says it has a whole reference page.
So if it has a reference page, it may very well. Where did it get published? That's the question.
DVM 360.
Okay, so if DVM 360 is one of our journals, it would not be like the FMA journal or the American Veterinary Parasite Journal. It's not an internist paper. It kind of deals. It's a commercial venue, and lots of times what you don't know. Say you're reading this thing, right across the page is an ad for CBD oil. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So lots of times what they do is they write the article and then they put the ads on the page before and the page after.
Okay.
Yeah. Is that fair? Sure. I guess it's fair. I mean, so that's what you say. Well, maybe I'll try some of this. Oh, look at here. Here's where I can order it for my pet store, or maybe they live in a state where they can prescribe it and stuff. I don't know. I don't know. I don't work in any other states, so I really don't know what all the rules are in all the other states. But yes, does it have anticonvulsive or epileptic properties? Yeah. Does it have pain properties? Sure. Does it have atopic dermatitis, properties to make that improved? Yeah. But best they can do is 65% of the dogs got 50% better. Well, that means a third of them had no virtual thing, and it doesn't look like any of them were completely taken care of. It looks like they picked this number out, and really what you do is you collect the data, then you write the article to reflect, where your points are. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It says I did find an article. It says currently there have been no formal studies on how CBD affects dogs.
Yeah, because nobody owns CBD, so it's not a proprietary drug that, let's say, Pfizer owns, or that Merck owns, or Mario owns, or Boehringer Ingelheim. They don't own it. So none of these places own this stuff. So if they do a paper on it and they prove this and that and the other thing, can they sell it as BI CBD oil? Well,
yeah, it does say pointers if you are looking for a CBD oil. It says look for organic. If the CBD oil is not organic, it should not contain pesticides or solvents.
Yeah.
Thoughts on that?
I don't know. I don't know where the police are for that stuff.
This one says don't only judge based on price. Higher quality and purity are usually associated with a higher cost. A cheaper option could contain toxic substances such as pesticides, heavy metals.
Yeah, yep. That's right. So usually, although I got to tell you, there's some people that are really proud of the drug they made, and it's a crappy drug. So, all the rules, there are all the rules. So there aren't any rules that apply to everything here, okay? Mm-hmm. I look at it like that. And listen, if you're watching this and you're using this on your dog and it works on your dog, and I hate to break this to you, you as an individual with an individual dog are not statistically significant. Now, if everybody on your street's on it and you got 80 people on your street, now that's a different story. And how you collect the data, that's a different story. And it has to all be collected and interpreted by the same person. Follow me? Mm-hmm. You can't have You can't.
You can't have people just saying, "Oh, it worked for me. It worked for me." So it's statistically proven.
You go to steakhouse and you interview the first 50 people that walk out, and somebody says, "Well, that steak sucked. That was tough as hell." And
a very small.
Yeah, and
sample size.
Yeah, the only the people. Well, 50 is not a small sample size, so you get. But that's a night that you have the same chef probably.
Yeah.
And you probably had the same cuts of meat.
Yeah, I would have said do it in a span of months.
Well, I'd interpret every day because it depends on who's cooking that day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So that's one of the variables. So that would be one of the inclusion-exclusion things you would do. You'd make sure it was the same chef. You would make sure that they used the same potatoes that day.
Sourcing from the same place.
Yes, sourcing the beef from the same place. It was aged exactly the same as the last beef. So that's, you get how screwed up this can get.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
So when everybody's running around and doing ads and saying stuff on TV about, this and that, and this is an endorsement, and,
mm-hmm.
I don't know. We just got done with an election, and endorsements were a big deal, and it turns out they weren't a big deal.
Yep.
It had a lot more to do with the meal than the endorsements.
Yep.
And so I guess we're prepared to eat the meal. We'll see how that is. But I think that's the thing you got to do is if it helps your dog, hey, listen, I'm really happy. And if your dog was having 7 seizures a month and all of a sudden you put him on CBD and he went down to having 2 seizures a month and the seizures were half the length that they were, good. I'm glad that helped your dog. And you should, but to do this, you have to create a log.
Yeah.
And you have to create your own data.
It's more on an individualistic basis than statistically over.
And you got to admit, all these claims are kind of vague, and they're like not in the same. So arthritis and dermatology, those aren't in exactly the same thing. Although sometimes they deal with inflammation. I get that
mm-hmm.
part. But epilepsy, I'm not sure we understand epilepsy very well.
No,
we all think we do as veterinarians, but I'm not even sure the neurologists understand everything about that. So that's one of those things that there's a lot of data, but what drugs are going to work for this seizure? Well. I guess they work if they work, and if they don't work, you better add some other drugs. Like in our business, we started with phenobarb, and then go to phenobarb and Keppra, and then go to phenobarb, Keppra, and sodium bromide or potassium bromide, or we could do that and CBD, and maybe we'll end up giving 4 or 5 different drugs in the end. Hey, guess what? My dog hadn't had a seizure in 6 months. Well,
that's awesome.
Apparently, you got to that point by giving all this stuff.
Yep.
Yep, and apparently there wasn't a lesion like a brain tumor that caused that. Otherwise, no matter what the hell you gave him, it wouldn't work.
So just the overview, CBD overall, if a client came to you and was like, hey, I want to try CBD for my dog, what would you say?
Knock yourself out. Yep, and buy the expensive stuff. And if
shit.
And if you know somebody that has used it and liked it, find out what they are using.
Okay.
Because then a testimonial does make a difference. Because if somebody said, you were on some place that had 7 restaurants, and consistently people came down the road and said, hey, this place is the best place on this road. I at least try that place. Mm-hmm. You may not get a good meal, but at least scientifically, you decided where you're going to eat based on what people told you. Perfect. So and I think that's all right to do. I think that's perfectly all right to do.
I agree. Well, now we know the scoop on CBD products.
Yeah. Apparently it doesn't cure hiccups because I had the hiccups about halfway through this.
That's okay.
You can rewind this and watch the hiccup part. So,
well, let's get some outro music going. Your favorite song?
Oh, I don't know if it's my favorite song. I really like this song. And it talks about dogs.
Well, guys, we sure appreciate you listening along with us today, and we hope we've been able to share some information that will help you love your dogs as much as they love you. Remember, don't forget, always treat the treatable and prevent the preventable.
And if Dr. Joe was watching this, I'm sorry I butchered your name.
Walschlag.
Walschlag.
That's a hard name.
That's a hard name. Yep.
So is Van Branken.
You should have taken his wife's name, probably. There you go. So, yep.
His loss.
Yeah.
See you guys.
Yep. Bye-bye.